Good morning, everybody. Let's sit up for this one. It's going to be quite a busy show today. Sam here, Night of People's TV, here to bring you the latest Manchester United news, as we do every single day, Monday to Friday. And we're going to be speaking about reports that have emerged overnight about Saudi investment in Manchester United. Who's saying it? What does it mean? What are the potential outcomes? I'll run through all of those, and we'll have a chat, as we always do every single day. I thought today's focus was going to be Jim Ratcliffe's big interview that he did with the Business Podcast for The Times, where he spoke about Ruben Amorim, said he wants to give him 3 years. Also spoke about the Glazers, spoke about the Academy, spoke about Manchester United, spoke about plans. I thought that was going to be the main talking point for today. Apparently not. We'll run through that later. We'll also cover the international break, what's been happening, Brian Mbeumo scoring, Shea Lacey getting called up to the England senior team. It's going to be a busy show, all right? I'm going to try and cover everything. You're going to let me know what you think in the comments, as you always do. I've got to sit forward here. I think my mic's a bit too far back. That's a little bit better. Who's here? Let's say hello. Good morning to you, Toby. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships and just continuing to just be a don. Sam is here, Wheezy. He is. Fran, good morning to you. We've got Tom. What are the mods we got down here? Carl, good morning to you. Josh, you're there as well. We've got Fizz. We've got Steve Denham. Keith. We've got Dylan. Imtiaz, we've got Maddie, we've got, Maddie, you're there as well. It's going to be a busy, busy show. DJG saying United View, just shouted you out. Yeah, fair enough. Cheers, Flex. I've got no qualms with Flex. Right. I didn't think, first thing I want to say here is I didn't think that we'd be having any of these conversations again at any point. Whether we're talking about full sale of Manchester United or minor investment of Manchester United or whatever it may be. I didn't think we would. Now, can we start with the facts, right? This is a fact. Manchester United want to do, or Manchester United are considering doing, a mid-season friendly in Saudi Arabia because we're not in European football. It's been covered by The Athletic. It's been covered by everybody. So Man United are going to be in talks with maybe Turkey Al Sheikh, who I'm going to be speaking about next, is somebody that you all recognise, even if you don't recognise the name. United will have been in conversations with people in Saudi over these last few weeks. Is that a prelude to what is happening now? Maybe. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. But I'm just giving you the facts there. We know that United are looking, I think we're going to earn somewhere in the region of 5 to 10 million for just going and doing either one not pre-season, but a mid-season friendly or playing a couple of games. No idea. But it's a money spinner because United aren't in European football. All right. We know that's a fact. Now, this is what's happened overnight. Okay. This has been translated, of course. It's Turkey Al Sheikh. Now, I'll explain who he is after we read it first. And he's saying here that the happiest news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of finalising a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope they're better than the previous owners. Now, the first thing that anytime anything like this happens, I mean, you always have to be skeptical. Of course, there's a ton of frustration about Manchester United right now. There's a lot of anger towards Ineos, and I think a lot of it's founded. And I'm going to run through some things that Jim Ratcliffe said. I'm not going to sit here and glaze Ineos and said they've been absolutely perfect because they haven't been. I think quite a lot of the things they've done I would question. Do I think a lot of what they have done was necessary, even if it was ugly? Yes, I do. I think both of those things can be correct at the same time. But this is what was reported last night. Now, Turkey Al Sheikh, as I said, if you don't know the name, you'll recognize the face. He, if I get his position correctly, he is the chairman of the, Chairman of the General Entertainment Authority in Saudi Arabia. I don't need to explain to you the Saudi push that's happened into sport over the last, what would you say? Let's call it 5 years, but probably a little bit longer than that. Been a huge push into sport. That's him in between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez ahead of their super fight that happened. That's him alongside Cristiano Ronaldo. That's him alongside Triple H at the announcement that WrestleMania is going to be going to Saudi Arabia. That's him. I couldn't actually remember what the name of the bloody Big Six were. Sinner, Djokovic. Is it begin with M? That bloke there. Can't remember his name. Alcaraz, Nadal. I don't know his name either. So who are these two? Forgot about those two. He is basically the face of Saudi sports investment and all the investments they're doing. So this isn't just like a random bloke out of nowhere. This isn't somebody who doesn't have a public face to his name, a bit like Sheikh El, like Jassim, if you want to go back there. It took a lot of people by surprise, but this is where it's coming from. Now, I want to get your Medvedev. I thought it began with them. I was going to say Medvedev. Damn it, should have said Medvedev. Who's the other guy? Anyway, ignore that tennis thing. My question to you is, I'll open it to the floor. Like, what's your reaction to this? What's your thoughts on it? Do you think it's hot air? Do you think there's going to be some substance to it? What I'm going to do in a second is run through what I would consider. We're going to be speaking in hypotheticals here. Like, what are the options? Like, A, it might just be hot air. Okay. But what if it's not? What avenues could that be? Going to go down there. Who's saying Fritz or Rune? Holger Rune. I didn't know who that guy is. Anyway, tennis is just all about Sinner and Alcaraz. So, unlucky lads. Gungshi, good morning to you, man. Love you. There's nothing else I can really say to you. I really, really can't. Jeff, you're saying hot air personally, but never know. Siraj, you think it's about stadium investment? That's certainly one of the potential avenues. Lee is saying he's incredibly well connected, so don't think you can disregard it. And I think that's kind of why I'm having a conversation here. He is effectively the public face of Saudi sports investment. So he's not just a nobody, you know what I mean? It's not just... A lot of these sorts of things, I wouldn't do a show and have a conversation about it. Kagotso saying there must be some substance considering the source. Don't think it's guaranteed that there's substance. Manny, you're saying they visited last year to discuss new stadium naming rights. Now it's time to invest in the larger redevelopment. It's good business for United and for the city. Don't fans want Glazers out? It's an opportunity. Vicky is saying it's a bit late this morning. Does this new investment opportunity have any state ties? As I said, I can't go any deeper or any further than that. I can't be speaking about... This is just very top level at this moment in time. It's come from, as I said, effectively the face of Saudi sports investment, so you can't just ignore it. Now, what could this actually mean? On the surface level, if you speak about the big one, buying Manchester United, I don't even know if that's actually possible because, again, I need to do research into this, but because PIF, Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, own Newcastle, I very much doubt that they could then buy Manchester United due to competition. I'm guessing the Premier League would block that, right? So I don't think that would be a possibility. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll do some more research on that. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think that would actually be a possibility. Now, could they be buying the Glazers part of Manchester United? Okay? Potentially. You can't rule it out. They have got insane amounts of money. And the only reason that we ever reached the point of a minority investment from Ineos into Manchester United is because the greedy Glazers would not sell for any number that was less than outrageous. And nobody would front that money because it was outrageous money. It wasn't what Manchester United was worth. I remember having these conversations back in... we're going backwards here. But it's almost like trying to sell a house. And you know that it could be worth X amount more if you invested in it. And you're trying to sell it for that amount of money. That's kind of what they did. But technically, they could do that. Now, again, I need to do the research into this because when Ineos bought their minority share in Manchester United, there were drag-along rights. Now, those drag-along rights meant that if... And I don't know when they expired. I don't know how long they were in place for. But they were certainly in place for the first 12 months. I just don't know whether they've expired yet. Again, I'm telling you, I need to do research into this before I can say this with any actual authority. But those drag-along rights, if they are still in place, would mean that if the Glazers wanted to sell to an outside investor, I believe Ineos would have the right of first refusal. They could match the offer, but they couldn't just outright say no. And they could be dragged along in. That's why they're called drag-along rights, because, of course, the Glazers at this moment in time are still the majority shareholders. They're certainly not the majority influence at United anymore. That's all down to Ineos. But I don't know whether they are still in place. So that could technically be another one. I think you could, in theory, be speaking about a third part owner of Manchester United. Again, all I'm doing is kind of laying out what the potential options could be here. I think this one is this one the least likely? I don't know whether it's the least likely, but it just feels unlikely. Adding in another third party, so it's the Glazers and Ineos and some Saudi investor. That just seems very, very unlikely, right? On the surface, I would say this one feels like the most likely. Investment into the stadium, investment into Manchester, investment into the entire regeneration project. Feels like the most logical to me. Well, maybe not logical. I suppose the most obvious. It would be stadium naming rights. It would be, I don't know how much the investment would be, but we know full well that Man United are going to they have to find money somewhere for the stadium. Now, stadium naming rights is definitely going to be part of that. For sure it is. So to me, on the outside, and I suppose it depends on how you want to interpret these words. I mean, it kind of makes it sound like something to do with sailing. I hope they're better than the previous owners. But again, because Manchester United are a public traded company, when it comes to like mergers and acquisitions, I don't think you can keep that sort of thing behind closed doors. If anything actually happens, it has to become public knowledge because Manchester United are a publicly traded company. I think I'm right on that one. So there are potential avenues. This one makes most logical sense to me. But I don't think you can just particularly ignore it because of, because if you don't want it to happen. I've already spoken at length about the fact that I don't want any state investment in terms of the ownership of Manchester United. I don't need to get into those arguments and I don't need to get in those conversations again. I tried my best to see it from both sides before, but my point still stands on that. Richard is saying, Sam, when do you think we'll get some clarity on it? I imagine it will probably happen quite soon. We just have to wait for journalists that we trust, the likes of David Ornstein, the likes of Laurie Whitwell and Kyle Anker and Andy Mitten. Maybe they won't comment on it. If they don't comment on it, then you can probably say that nothing's really going to happen. But if there is substance to it, we will find out pretty soon enough. Brown Knight, you've got it completely wrong, Sam. Drag-along clause comes into effect 12 months after Ineos come on board. What it means is if the Glazers decide to sell, Ineos cannot stop the sale. I'm pretty sure that's kind of what I said. If somebody else comes in and offers X amount, I thought that Ineos have right at first. Ineos could match that offer, and if they don't match that offer, then they get dragged along. So I thought anyway. Allah was saying again, Sam, why would he sell to new investors? And when you're thinking from an Ineos perspective, right, dude. 1 second here. Please don't spam comments. Anybody who spams comments more than one, just give them an hour timeout. I'm really not in there. I know you feel like your comments. Just put it in once, please. Don't spam. It's hard enough to read everything apart from the same thing getting spammed in. And this is why it's so hard to sometimes engage with the chat. Because you try your best to cover it as much as you possibly can. But everyone tries to come over the top. You're this, you're that. And he's like, well, I may as well. You know what? I may as well just close all the chat. I may as well just speak to you like an empty void and not engage with you all. If that's what you would prefer, I don't know. But from an Ineos perspective, and I said this at the time, and it stood true, that Manchester United was a bad short-term investment. Always was. It's not Captain Hindsight saying that. Because of how much money was needed to be put into Manchester United, because of the cleaning up job that was necessary, which we're not even halfway through yet. Ineos was a bad short-term investment. So the idea that I suppose Ineos could technically turn it over, just again speaking hypothetically here, they could turn it over and sell for a massive premium on their original purchase of United, but I still don't think that would cover anywhere near what Jim Ratcliffe himself personally has put into the club. So I just don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening. But this, because the source is, as I said, the face of Saudi sports investment, you can't just ignore it. Let's see what goes on. I'm going to read a few more of your comments, see if anybody else is telling me everything I'm doing wrong. Drew saying, hi Sam, what are your thoughts on Sir Jim's interview? I'm going to be speaking about that next. Eze saying, can't want to stick with the Glazers, surely. Ineos have done okay so far. I wouldn't mind them being allowed to stick around. Ineos have done some good, right? Ineos have done, I think probably the main thing that Ineos just have really, really dismissed is the relationship with match-going fans and the impact that that would have in the sort of core base of their support. Senna Lomond. There you go. Pronounce it again. Jonathan saying United shouldn't be a penny-pinching club. Well, all of this is... Let's not go back and let's not get into a conversation about the Glazers and the billion plus that's left this football club and everything. That's all of this is a consequence of the Glazers. All of this is a consequence of the Rock of Gibraltar. All of it is a direct consequence of all of that, and we're still suffering the consequences of it. What's saying down here? Right. What else are you saying? Alex is saying the Freightliner Railways goods yard purchase is the bit to follow on this. Yes, I've already covered that in a video which we're preparing behind the scenes on the new stadium and what's gone on. If you don't know, Freightliner, they own the railway station, which is like, where is it now? Like over here somewhere. Yeah, look, you can see the railway line there. That's the thing that Manchester United need to own in order to build the massive canopy and to build the big stadium. Freightliner want 400 million. United are offering 50. Big old gap. Yeah, that goddamn horse. And let's go back. Tommy is saying reports are it's Ronaldo. He just became what? Football's first billionaire yesterday? He just needs to find another 4, 5, 6 bill. Someone down there saying people can force the sale of Glazers shares to Saudi, then Ineos remain. I don't know. The Glazers can't be forced to... I think we've learned very well that the Glazers can't be forced to do anything. As thick-skinned as they come, they do not care. They do not give a toss. They will not be forced into anything that they do not want to do. Finn, you're saying, how realistic is this to happen? As I said at the very start of today's show, we know full well that United are exploring options in Saudi for the mid-season friendly to do it as a money spinner. So United officials, whether that's Barada, whether that's Wilcox, presumably Barada, he's going to be in talks with people from Saudi. This may well be coming off the back of that. We don't know that much. But I'm going to follow up on it in a lunchtime video, cover it in as much detail as I possibly can, and then I'll bring you any updates on it. But that's what the reports are saying this morning. And as I said, if I was to guess, not guess, I suppose it is a guess, but if I was to suggest where I think it makes most sense, it would be to do with the stadium. It would be to do an investment in the stadium. What's everyone's take on that? On like we're gonna have to get outside investment for the stadium. It's not possible to finance otherwise. Now, whether you get that from a bank loan, whether you get that from selling the stadium naming rights to, I don't know, Snapdragon, or you get it from a Saudi investor. What's your take on that? I'm trying to think, I mean, you could have like I suppose a preferential person that you would that you want to sell or you want to take investment from when it comes to the stadium. I think it's just going to be who offers the most money, I'm guessing. Jibak, you're saying, I think it's safe to say that Ineos's financial projections of United has changed since coming on. If they do want to cash out, at what price will they sell? As I said, because of, again, personal money that Jim Ratcliffe has put in, and I just don't see Ineos selling at this point. Of course, unless it's an outrageous amount of money, and outrageous amounts of money, well, they turn heads, don't they? Yeah, this is the international break, I suppose. Finn, you're saying I'd take Saudi investment for Legazer's shares and keep Ineos, and Ineos run the football operations and Saudi handles the finances. Imagine, again, this is like the choice that we had in the summer. Like, oh, you've got a choice between the Glazers and being a state-owned club. Ooh. Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Someone down there saying, don't care where the money comes from, just get the investment in and get it done. I think there's quite a few fans that feel like that. What are you saying down here? But they pay for the stadium and we end up renting it off them. I think that's going to be it's kind of an interesting point there. Man United should own this new stadium. It's going to be, it's a big reason why, if I remember correctly, might be wrong on this one. A Dallas Cowboy is the most valuable sports team in the world. I think part of that is because they own the stadium that they're in, which is worth like somewhere in the region of like $1 to $2 billion. Have I made that up? I think they're one of the most valuable sports franchises in the world. I think that's why, because they own the stadium. Right. Anyway, that's what the news is, okay? That's covered for you. It's coming from the man, so one more time for anybody who's just tuning in, it's coming from the man, Turki Al-Sheikh, who is the face of Saudi sports investment. Right, that's him with the boxing, that's him with Ronaldo, that's him with Triple H. We know full well that WrestleMania is going to Saudi Arabia. The World Cup's in Saudi Arabia in 2030. I don't need to tell you all the investment in football. I don't need to. They've basically taken over boxing completely. I think they're going to try and start doing it with tennis too. They're just trying to take over sport. And Steve, you're saying a single source of financial backing for the development is more likely than taking an ownership share of the whole area investment. Let's see. But one thing I would say on this is not really sure what he stands to gain from just throwing that out there for absolutely no reason. What? I'm trying to think of the leverage that you might gain by that being fake news, because sometimes it's what people do. Like they use this stuff as part of negotiations. Now, what does he stand to gain there by just making it up and throwing it out there? Given his position, given his power already, given the very established face that he is, I don't really know. Kagotso saying, why are Saudi so heavily involved in sports? How does it benefit the country? Just go and Google sports washing, dude. It's all about changing the public perception of Saudi Arabia across the world. And one of the best methods by doing so is using sport. It's been going on for a long time. Not really sure it's going away anytime soon. Now, as I said, I thought this was going to be the talking point for today's show. I thought we were going to be having a full conversation about Jim Ratcliffe's interview, about Ruben Amorim, about the academy, about the Glazers, about Man United, about plans. I'm going to run through it now, okay? And you can let me know what you think in the comments. I'll read a couple more of your final comments on the Saudi stuff. Alex saying a stadium development company may be part owned by Red Football Limited instead of being owned by United. Yeah, it's a little bit too in-depth and detailed for the show today, I think. Cowboys and Yankees are the most valuable teams in the world who haven't won in over 2 decades. Right, let's move on. Okay, let's speak about this interview with Jim Ratcliffe. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to play a clip here. Then I'm going to run through some quotes and we can have a conversation. This is what this is what Jim Ratcliffe was saying about Ruben Amorim, right?
We have to be patient, and we have a long-term plan. It isn't a light switch, and you can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one, every week. Sorry.
So Amorim gets at least the rest of the season then.
Amorim, he's a good guy. Yeah, I mean,
that's not the same thing. He's a good guy. It's not the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Ruben, he needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years.
Yeah, that's where I would be.
Yeah,
3 years, because football's not overnight.
No, and as you say, the Alex Ferguson example is exactly that, isn't it?
And you look at Arteta at Arsenal. He had a miserable time for the first couple of years.
Right. So, the main, of course, headline from this, the fact that Jim Ratcliffe is saying that Ruben Amorim is going to get 3 years. I want your take on that. Open up to the floor. Anthony, sorry, Sam, you have no issues with the Saudis. Make a stance. No, Anthony. It's a good way to explain that you haven't been here long. Go back and watch everything that I have been doing and saying on this channel for the entire takeover. I'm not getting dragged back into that conversation right now because that exhausted me. Thank you very much. And don't tell me what to do. Yeah, I just kind of want to get your take on Jim Ratcliffe. Obviously, I said what I said last week on Amorim. I said that I'd lost faith in Ruben Amorim's ability to create momentum at this football club. Reason I said that is because it just felt like change wasn't coming. It really did. Like, tweaks had to happen. We tweaked against Sunderland. Lo and behold, we worked. I didn't really think that we were going to tweak against Sunderland. And I wrote down everything and sort of explained how I wanted it to happen, but nothing was actually going to happen. And we did. Of course, we've now got, naturally, we've got Liverpool away. Which would be really quite funny if Ruben Amorim, for the first time as Manchester United manager, wins 2 games in a row in the Premier League, and he does it at Anfield, a place where we haven't won in 10 years. Now I'm going to read some of your comments out down here about these quotes from Jim Ratcliffe. It's me, you're saying it's brilliant. Pete is saying he has to say that about the manager. One thing I will say here straight away. Now, you can want Ruben Amorim to stay. You can want Ruben Amorim to be replaced. Wherever you stand on it. Jim Ratcliffe saying this gives Amorim some real power in that dressing room. It enables him. It kind of puts to bed any conversations or any whispers that might exist about, if we just play crap for a couple of weeks. I'm not saying that any players would do that, but he's got the public backing of his owner. Like, he's not going anywhere. So that should give a little bit more stability to the environment for Ruben Amorim. Fats, you're saying he's not wrong in what he's saying about Amorim. Just need more winning results to go with it. Which is, it kind of goes without saying. It's what's been missing. I think I could talk about the benefits of the culture. I could talk about the good things and the good person that Ruben Amorim is, but the results have just been atrocious. Largely atrocious. Jason saying, think they should just back him, they should back him. He's got 2 players he wanted signed. Remember, he sold loads at Sporting. Yeah, it's not about backing. He needs more money. United approached this summer with a strategy. I don't think it fell exactly in line with what Ruben Amorim wanted. He wanted a number 6. He wanted an athletic midfielder. Jason Wilcox overruled, said he wanted a striker. I don't think Šeško was a bad signing, but it wouldn't have been where I invested that money at that point in time. Already said that. That if Šeško scores at Anfield. He can't be performing poorly and want the fans to support him. Stevie saying, first time hearing this, I'm in shock, Sam. Need a second to digest that. Back in the Gaffer and hoping he turns things around. Logically, Ruben has this season to prove himself if he wants to be here for the next 3 years. If we finish 15th again, he has to be on. I think that kind of goes without saying, Gabriel. But whether you agree with it or not, it really does feel like United are very much thinking long term here. Now, football is indeed a results-based business, and we all know that. But it doesn't particularly, and you can call him deluded if you want, you can call him completely incorrect if you want. I understand that. Everyone's entitled to their opinions now. But it doesn't really feel like the results are affecting Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos's point of view on Ruben Amorim. One thing I would say about this is this isn't just Jim Ratcliffe coming out and saying this without hearing from inside the club. We know that Jason Wilcox has been like canvassing. I say canvassing. He's not going around like a political manifesto, but he's going around Carrington. He's speaking to Bruno. He's speaking to the leadership team. What is the position of Ruben with the player? A bit like when I suppose you could say the same thing here. They went round and did the same thing about Erik ten Hag, and then they made the wrong decision there. But Jim Ratcliffe's not just saying this unless he's informed that Ruben has got the support of the squad. And let me see what you're saying down here. The Siegs is saying, I think it's about time we thought long term. Manny is saying we've had 7 managers in 10 years. The last manager that got more than 2 years was Fergie. Surely we can all see that rebuilding takes time. Look, there's one thing, like, seeing this just makes me go, oh, for fuck's sake, really? I'll speak about Fergie and I'll speak about Arteta separately. But I think anybody bringing up Fergie getting time, mate, it's just so utterly wrong. It's the same sort of thing as Roy Keane talking about, the dressing room back in my day was this and that, and why can't United do it now? But mate, it's different. It's just different. What worked then will not work now. We're talking about Fergie 40 years ago, people. When Man United hadn't won the league in 30 years. We're not talking about Manchester United. I suppose you could say the same. Well, Man United haven't won the league in 10 years here, Sam. So there is some form of similarity. But Manchester United are a behemoth now. Manchester United are an absolute superpower. United were a big club back in the 80s. But we haven't won the league in 30-odd years. I think just to compare the times and say, well, because Fergie got time, then everything... That's just... It just feels lazy to me. If you want to pull some similarities to the Arteta situation, I think you've probably got a little bit more parallels than you do with the Fergie situation. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a complete parallel. And Arteta's not even won the bloody league. My point is just, I think it's just lazy to mention anything to do with Fergie. John is saying, given managers' time has been proven, that's the point in comparing to Fergie. So something was proved 40 years ago. Again, is the point I'm trying to make. Anyway. Whatever we feel about the results, and we're United fans, right? We're here every day. We talk about United. We're here every morning. We're here every afternoon. We love the club. We're entrenched in it. It's in our DNA now. So we're far deeper in the rabbit hole from an emotional perspective than Jim Ratcliffe or Ineos will ever be. They're obviously in the rabbit hole because they're invested financially in Manchester United. But clearly they're not as swayed by the results as we are. And I can't deny that I've wanted United to be thinking long term. But like, Ruben, man, please, come on, get those results. I will so easily believe in the Ruben Amorim project at United if we just get those results. I really will. As I said, me losing faith was because I thought we'd reached a point after the Brentford game where I was like, he's not going to change anything. It was after that Brentford game I was like, to go from that Chelsea game with the aggression that we had and everything good I saw, and then a week later, just like the completely opposite team. And just nothing changed. And it all got a bit crazy towards the end with Mount at left wing back and then shifting the defence. It felt a little bit like desperate, I suppose. That's why I lost the faith. Then against Sunderland, we switched it up a bit. Quite a lot, actually. Senna coming in and making the difference that he made in goal was, I think, a pretty decent part of that. Šeško having the performance he did was a pretty decent part of that. It's almost like bringing in a new goalkeeper and bringing in a new striker who do their jobs properly are going to bring points to Manchester United. Sunderland is a direct example of that. Which, that was the strategy for United this summer. Ultimately, it wasn't about bringing in that control to midfield. It was about not conceding as many and scoring more. You're not a believer, Sam, but you enjoyed typing that one in. Can't must be saying for me, it's not the results. It's how we play as a team and consistently. If there's no progression, then you quickly lose faith. And I suppose that's part of it as well. And like I think the best example of that is that Arsenal game in the first week. Like we lost, but I came out of that almost buoyant. Which kind of goes to show that where we were last season, because we finished 15th. But I came out of that game buoyant because I was like, there you go, there it is, there. And I'm like, oh, we haven't really seen that since. Oh, it's Ineos are thinking long term, and seemingly it doesn't really matter what the noise is saying, what the results are saying. That is their position. And it doesn't matter how loud the aggravation gets. It doesn't matter, I suppose, if Ruben Amorim loses the dressing room and public spats, then that's going to be something that shifts it and changes it. Suleiman saying, what should be done? Oh, to be fair, that was all in capitals, so you're not getting that read out. Someone down there saying, realistically, we have to give Amorim time. Right now, there isn't a replacement manager out there that I think fits what United need. Man, Anfield is coming at a hell of a time, isn't it? It's really going to be probably one of the most interesting atmospheres going into a game at Anfield that I think I can remember for quite a long time from both sides. Like every time we've gone to Anfield, I don't know if anybody's going to know this off the top of the head. When was the last time we went to Anfield and Liverpool weren't just full of beans and confident and just sort of like, yeah, it's going right. Oh, sweet. Yeah, nice. Yeah, we're going to. This must be well, it feels like to me anyway. It feels like the first time that we're going to Anfield and it feels like they've got a couple of chinks in the armour that we can take advantage of. And we have to. Oh, United at Anfield, man. My God. It's going to be good. Will be good. Owen, you're saying it's coming at the right time. Shrey, you're saying my bare minimum is to be top 8. Well, we know what the ambition of the club was this season. It was finishing top 6. That's what Omar Barada said in his interview with Andy Mitten in United We Stand. That long interview he did. Said top 6 was the ambition. You might laugh at it, but we're what? 3 points off the top 4 right now, something like that. Still way early days. If United just easier said than done, especially with the games that we've got coming up. But if United put together a run of like 4, 5 wins in a row, we haven't even done 1, 2 wins in a row. Who are you kidding, Sam? I know. But beat Liverpool at Anfield, that's going to be an adrenaline shot into the football club. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2000. It's nearly 10 years since we won at Anfield in the league. But going back to Jim Ratcliffe's interview, right? He's also speaking about the Glazers. He was asked what would happen if the Glazers told him to sack Ruben Amorim, and he goes, it's not going to happen. It really has to be the weirdest ownership structure of a business the size of Manchester United. Maybe it exists elsewhere. I don't have eyes on every single bloody business in the world and every business that's worth like somewhere in the region of 4 to 6 billion. I've got no idea. But I'd be surprised if there's many other businesses where the minority owner actually has full control of the operations of the entire business. And the person who actually has most ownership of the club just sits in the background, doesn't actually do anything. A passive owner. I'm sure there's probably some other examples of it. But he's basically saying here, nah, if the Glazers wanted to sack Amorim, it's not going to happen. We got the choice. We're in control of the football operations. One thing I always will despise is down here, the amount of, I know why he's doing it, but the amount of times that Ratcliffe schmoozes the Glazers in public. They're really nice people. They're passionate about the club. It's just like, it makes me sick every time. I know why he does it, because he's got to keep that relationship with them. It's just grim reading every single time. Now, I want to ask this as a final question on on Jim Ratcliffe's interview. And this is on the academy side of things. Okay? I don't know whether I interpreted this wrong last night, but I want to ask you. He was speaking about obviously we know about the academy and the importance of United, and he was asked about it. This is what he said. He said, the academy has really slipped at Manchester United. You need the academy to be producing talent all the time. It helps you financially. That's not a light switch. You don't solve the academy problem overnight. It takes time, and we've just recruited a new academy director. Now, I wanted to ask you, what's your interpretation of those comments there? You can do that one of two ways, I suppose. I took it this way last night. I read that as one thing all the things I don't like about modern football. The one thing I really, really hate about PSR is how much it actively encourages clubs to sell academy players in order to prop up funding on signing players, because academy players are worth double, etc., 100% profit. That's what I interpreted that as. Effectively, Jim Ratcliffe saying the academy has slipped. You need to be producing talent all the time because we can make money by selling those players. On the other hand, you could read that as this, saying, right, you need the academy to be producing talent. It helps you financially. And it helps you financially because then you don't have to spend huge amounts of money, like Hamid is saying down there. You don't have to spend huge amounts of money on signing a 60, 70, 80 million pound player because you've gone out and you signed someone like Orozco from Colombia or Darbo from Senegal, who ends up being a 60, 70, 80 million pound player, and therefore you don't have to spend it. So you can interpret it in one of those two ways. Last night, my initial reaction was to interpret that as, he wants us to become a Chelsea or a Man City, and effectively use the academy as a factory for churning out players and sell them for profits that you then invest into. And I hope that's not the case. Yeah, Mr. Moon, I agree on that. In terms of the percentage of academy players that go on to become first team regulars, not just at Manchester United, but just in general, must be a very low percentage. And maybe from a financial perspective, it's kind of both those things at the same time. Something I think United have done before, and for quite a while now, is we have hoarded players. Probably out of fear of repeating a Pogba situation and letting a player go that ends up becoming great elsewhere. And the sting that happened. And that actually was why it led to us giving out crazy contracts, because we lost Pogba on a free, and the club's policy was like, let's not let that happen again. And then it went the other end, and then we were on players on inflated contracts for too long that we then can't get rid of. So instead of it being a problem of players leaving on a free, it's a problem with the players we can't get rid of. Ronan, you're saying it could be a bit of both. It may well be a bit of both. I would just despise the idea that United just become what Chelsea and City have done and just become an academy factory churn. And that instead of those players coming through and becoming cornerstones in the first team, they go elsewhere and we make profit from that. That isn't Manchester United. So I hope I misinterpreted that last night, and the concept of it helping you financially actually comes from the fact that it's because we're saving money, because look at all these players who come through the academy. Things are different at Manchester United. We've always done the academy different. We've always been, for a long time, I'd say we've lost that moniker. Not lost it, but it's dulled. The academy being the shining light of Manchester United. You can say Garnacho coming through in recent years, Cobby too. Cobby's on the fringe of the first team right now because he doesn't fit the system. He doesn't exactly fit the profile that Amorim wants. There are loads of other players who come in. I'm telling you, like, in terms of the academy really slipping, like, we won the treble with the under-18s 2 seasons ago. We won the title again last season? I think we did. The under-21s and the under-18s are currently both top of the league. Like, from a results perspective and a development perspective at that age, those age groups, I'd say we've got a hell of a crop of talent. I think we've actually recruited well. The reason that we have a new academy director is because Nick Cox got headhunted by Everton and moved on to Everton. I don't think that's a slight on the academy. I don't really think that's a slight on Nick Cox either. It was just that he probably felt, I've done what I can do at Manchester United, and he wanted to test himself, and good luck to him. I think Nick Cox done an incredible job. Don't think he left with any bad blood. But we haven't recruited a new academy director because the academy's really slipped. We had that conversation 10 years ago. Our academy was in a crap place. Like yesterday, for example, speaking about the academy, big up to Shea Lacey, who trained with the England senior team. That's a big moment for him. Now, it probably was Thomas Tuchel, I don't know, making up numbers. I don't quite know. I think there were 3 under-20s players, and I don't know whether this happens at every single training camp. Anybody else, you might be able to let me know that. It might happen. It might not. But he trained with the England senior team. Shea has had such a horrendous couple of years with injuries. And I'm just... If he hadn't had that, man, you can imagine the progression that lad would have had. But he's enjoying himself with the under-21s right now. And especially when Mbumo and Ahmad go to AFCON, I think you might see him in the sort of, maybe even the first team squad environment. Bembe is saying Jim wants to find the next Wharton and Baleva from the academy, not spend 100 mil to buy them every season, which, again, is kind of what I've said I've wanted. And that's why I'm saying, look, I hope I misinterpreted that wrong last night on initial reading of it. And actually the idea of helping United financially from the academy, it's about finding those gems and building in those gems and developing those gems. Rather than, oh, he's worth 10 mil, he's worth 20 mil, let's sell off all our academy players to then go and sign someone else. Ronan is saying, Sam, we've done this in the past, holding on to some of our academy players. Richardson, Gibson, Darren Gibson. Great for a blaster from outside the box, he was. Brian is saying Shea's been training with our seniors. I believe in recent weeks, I think, I might be right on this one. I think Shea Lacey's trained with the first team. Jim Thwaites has trained with the first team. And maybe Jace Fitzgerald, I'm not quite sure. Finn, I'm about to cover that next. As I said, that's a international break. It's going to be quiet. No, of course not. It's Manchester United. Because United have also made a senior appointment. So we've ran through all the news. If you're just tuning in, welcome aboard. Please do get involved and subscribe. But we've covered the reports coming from Turki Al-Sheikh about potential Saudi investment in United. And I've already covered who he is. And I'm going to do that in a lunchtime video in a bit more detail for you all. Get that summarised in 8 to 10 minutes. Man United have made another senior appointment. Okay, this is from the BBC yesterday. United add Brentford's Manic to football leadership team. Manchester United are appointing Brentford Chief Operating Officer Amish Manic as Director of Football Operations at Old Trafford. And here's what his job's going to be. He will effectively run Carrington, the base of anyway, he will effectively run United's Carrington training ground, the base for the daily football operation, with responsibility for travel, security, training facilities, staff management and infrastructure. That's why he's been brought in. Effectively looking almost like segmenting Carrington off as not a separate thing, but kind of almost. Jason Wilcox is he's director of football. What was his name? Amish Manic. Amish Manic will now be in control of Carrington. He'll probably be therefore would he be leading on the Carrington redevelopment with the new academy building that's going to be built. I imagine he'll be involved in that. He'll be involved in making sure it runs smoothly, and of course, Man United's football. A lot of Man United's football operations moved there. A lot of people moved from Old Trafford, so it's another senior appointment. It's not really going to affect the football team as you see it, but hopefully it affects the football team and the efficiency behind the scenes, and it makes Carrington a better run operation, I suppose you can call it that. So this is I mean, it goes to show you the scale of Carrington. Man United's training ground is so big, and there's so much going on there with men's team, women's team, all the academy teams. I mean, I suppose it doesn't, when you say it like that, of course. I don't know the setup at other football clubs, whether they've actually got a director of, I mean, of course they have director of operations directly in control of the training ground. I don't quite know. Yeah, exactly that. He's an ops guy, operational. He's not going to be bringing the strategy. He's not going to be, or maybe he will, but it's going to be about numbers and efficiency. Kind of the boring stuff behind the scenes, but the stuff that's important, right? So that's another senior appointment. Wow. Let's have a little decompress. Last couple of minutes of the show. You got any questions? Fire them in. That was a busy one. I'll tell you what I've got here. Alex, I think this is yours. I'm guessing this is, because I don't know what this is. I've not opened it. Don't want to break it. It looks like a piece of art. Right. Let's see what this is. This is definitely not a piece of art. Mate. You are a funny guy, man. You are a funny guy. How do you open it? How do you get it to stand up? Anyway, it's me and the boss. Love Manchester United. Just want Man United to be great again. Fuck's sake, have I got to have a massive Fergie cutout standing up? Oh, looks like I do. Right, you can stay there, mate. Right, that's that's probably the most unexpected thing I think I'll ever open. Let's just leave him there. Right, let's wrap up today's show. Never mind. Right, that's everything covered for today. Lunchtime video is going to be on the Saudi stuff. I'll go in a little bit more detail. It's the international break. Hello. See you later, everyone.